Nintendo has been fighting emulation for decades, and yet it's never been stronger. Every shutdown and every lawsuit just proves one thing. They can't stop us, because when one gets taken down, two more just pop up and replace it. And with so many emulators being open source, it doesn't matter how many times you swing, you can't kill something that everybody can rebuild. And honestly, that's what people forget. Emulation isn't new or shady. We've all used it before, even if we didn't realize it. The first emulator I used was surprisingly the Wii Virtual Console running through an internal emulator created by Nintendo. I didn't even think of it as emulation back then. I just remember the game was Super Mario Bros. And I mean, I would click it and it just worked fine, but looking back now, that was emulation with a fancy little Nintendo logo on top. And what makes this whole thing so strange is Nintendo didn't invent emulation, they were far from it actually. One of the first major console emulators was called Nesticle, and that was one of the first ones to gain broad attention. It was released way back in 1997. It wasn't the first ever made, but it was one of the ones that really just kicked the door open, so most people with a computer could play NES games, and at the time it was just revolutionary. And of course, Nintendo hated that, even though decades later they'd announce and turn around and sell those same games back to us through their own emulators and Switch Online, NSO. And look, I understand that Nintendo has every right to do with what they please with their own intellectual property, but there's a difference between protecting what you own and trying to control how people experience it. Emulation isn't theft, it's preservation. It's people trying to keep history alive when the company that made it would rather lock it away. Nintendo uses emulation every single day. Their Switch Online service literally runs on internal emulators. The same idea, just with a price tag, and it's a subscription model, and inherently that technology isn't bad, but it's only really good for just Nintendo when they're the ones who are holding the keys, and they don't want people to be the ones who are developing it if it's not them. What frustrates people is the double standard. Fans build open source tools that keep these games playable for free, and Nintendo shuts them down. It's not about preservation anymore, it's about control, and I think that's why so many players have started taking things into their own hands, because if the companies won't make this history accessible, the community will. While Nintendo keeps trying to shut emulation down, the community has never been stronger. Take Citra and Yuzu, two names everyone should know by now, and Citra made 3DS titles run sharper and smoother without the limitations of the old hardware. And Yuzu did the same thing for the Switch by letting people play games on their PC or handhelds like the Steam Deck, and it's not perfect. Look, I've had crashes and bugs, but believe me, it doesn't matter. I've had my Steam Deck now for 3 months, but I've been following the emulation scene since the deck pretty much launched, and it's really amazing just how much software can really improve in just a few years. Now that the Switch 2 is finally here, Nintendo's hardware has finally caught up, sort of, but it was never really the problem. The shutdowns on Yuzu and Citra are the problem. It wasn't about performance as much between emulators and real hardware, they were about control for Nintendo. They don't like when you can play their games on anything they don't make, and yet every time they try to end it, the community just finds another way. When Nintendo went after Yuzu and Citra, it really didn't stop anything, it just made the community double down, and within weeks, Tsuyu showed up carrying the same progress forward, and then Eden came out of nowhere with better performance, and that's what I use on my Steam Deck, and it's been great. And it's always been like this. SNES nailed near perfect Super Nintendo accuracy decades ago, when that was supposed to be impossible. Then, Project 64 made N64 games playable on PCs, and suddenly, everyone realized this stuff wasn't some joke. That's the thing with emulation, it just evolves faster than any company can control it. You can delete a repo or take down a website, throw lawyers at it, but you can't erase what people already understand. The Switch 2 is more powerful, but that's never been an issue for Nintendo, because Nintendo doesn't hate emulation because it's competition, they hate it because it takes control away from them. Players get to decide where they play, not Nintendo, and that's exactly why emulation will just keep moving forward while Nintendo keeps trying to lock you in. The hardware that we grew up with isn't getting any younger. Screens fade or stop working, batteries will die, and finding replacement parts will become harder as time goes on. Your love for games hasn't changed, you still want to play them. You just want them to work without a headache that using real hardware comes with. And maybe that's not you, but I'm sure many of you out there who are watching this just want your games to work, and that's what emulation gives us. It doesn't replace the memories tied to my old 3DS, for instance, but it can help keep them alive and amplify them. I still love collecting and owning real consoles. I have a ton of them. There's something so special about holding real hardware. When it comes to actually playing, emulation just, to me, makes more sense. And it gives us what the industry won't. Reliability and freedom and long-term access that other companies just seem to be forgetting. At this point, it's not even about fighting Nintendo anymore. Emulation has become bigger than any one company. It's become a part of how we keep gaming history alive. Every time something gets taken down, the community just builds something new or forks an existing project. Companies can chase control all they want, but they'll never stop people from wanting to play the games they love. We've proven that, and the more restrictions they add, the more motivation people have to preserve what's theirs. And I don't think emulation is really going anywhere. It's not a trend. It's the reason some games still exist at all and haven't been lost to time because, let's face it, video games are not an easy medium to preserve. So many different types of hardware, all with different quirks and gimmicks. It's not easy to preserve these things, and I'm happy that we have a community of wonderful people just like us who want to keep these games for the next generations. Whether it's on a Steam Deck or a PC or some console 20 years out from now, people will still be finding ways to play the games they love because that's what we do. I want to leave it off right here, but I have some closing thoughts. I'd like to say if anyone who is watching this works at Nintendo, I was never trying to fight you about this. It's about protecting what you've started. The reason many emulators exist in the first place is because your games matter to so many people, and including myself. So I gotta thank you for that. And I also gotta thank you for watching this video. And if you haven't subscribed, why not subscribe? We just hit 270 subscribers, so I would really appreciate it if you did, but if not, that's okay. I hope to see you in the next video if you're interested in that. And yeah, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you there.